Chris Mitchell brings us the story from Jerusalem.
Well, tonight I'm here to tell you one thing. Iran lied.
In a well-planned primetime expose, Netanyahu unveiled thousands of files and documents taken straight from Iran's secret atomic archives.
We've known for years that Iran had a secret nuclear weapons program called Project Ahmad. We can now prove that Project Ahmad was a comprehensive program to design, build, and test nuclear weapons.
Netanyahu said the plan sought to put nuclear bombs on ballistic missiles. Then, after signing the nuclear deal in 2015, Iran hid its nuclear files.
Even after the deal, Iran continued to preserve and expand its nuclear weapons know-how for future use. Why would a terrorist regime hide and meticulously catalog its secret nuclear files if not to use them at a later date?
At a Rose Garden press conference moments after Netanyahu's revelations, President Trump addressed the nuclear agreement's upcoming May 12th deadline, when he must certify to Congress Iran is in compliance of the deal.
We'll see what happens. I'm not telling you what I'm doing, but a lot of people think they know. And on or before the 12th, we'll make a decision. That doesn't mean we won't negotiate a real agreement.
After Trump's comments and Netanyahu's presentation, Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif tweeted, "President Trump is jumping on a rehash of old allegations already dealt with by the IAEA to nix the deal. How convenient. Coordinated timing of alleged revelations by the boy who cries wolf just days before May 12." Netanyahu said the U.S. verified the documents, and Israel plans to share the information with France, Germany, and the International Atomic Energy Agency.
So here's the bottom line. Iran continues to lie. Just last week, Zarif said this.
We never wanted to produce a bomb.
Again?
We never wanted to produce a bomb.
Yes, you did. Yes, you do. And the Atomic Archive proves it.
Netanyahu then called on the U.S. to take the lead.
And in a few days' time, President Trump will make his decision on what to do with the nuclear deal. I'm sure he'll do the right thing. The right thing for the United States, the right thing for Israel, and the right thing for the peace of the world.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Chris. Well, with us now from Washington is the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Ron Bermer. And Mr. Ambassador, thanks for being with us on this edition of the 700 Club.
Good to be with you, sir.
Tell us what the Prime Minister essentially was saying, besides the fact that Iran's a group of liars. Well, what is the heart of this thing?
Well, look, the heart of the thing is that they deceived the international community on a massive scale. The Prime Minister just proved it. You know, before yesterday, there were a lot of question marks as to Iran's nuclear weapons program. Those were turned into exclamation points yesterday, and we have this massive archive, a secret atomic archive that we obtained from the heart of Tehran that actually shows the extent of their deception of the international community. So this whole deal that was made was based on utter lies and fabrications from the Iranians. So people could say, hey, that's a problem of the past. We need to focus on the future. Here's the problem with that. Those files are in a safe. They were in those safes not to be thrown out in the future, but to be used in the future. So when these deals restrictions are removed, and that's what the deal does, Pat, in a few years, Iran will be able to enrich as much uranium as it wants legitimately, and that's part of this nuclear deal. It puts restrictions only in place for a few short years. Well, when those restrictions are removed, they're going to go into those safes, they're going to take out those files, and they're going to use them to build nuclear weapons. Now, why would you want a regime that calls death to America, that leads massive chance of millions of Iranians in death to America? Why would you want to give that regime the ability to build nuclear weapons in the future? That's why this deal must be stopped.
Well, now, if it was based on a fraud, then essentially the deal is, well, at its inception is flawed, then, isn't it? I mean, it really doesn't hold. I mean, isn't that the normal rule of contract law?
Yeah, you make a very good point. It's pretty much that the deal is invalid. And the reason why it's invalid is the last stage before this deal was implemented was they had to pass through an inspection mechanism of the International Atomic Energy Agency. They had to submit all of these documents so that the International Atomic Energy Agency would sign a final assessment of Iran's nuclear program. And we can prove 100% that they lied to the IAEA, that inspection agency. And because they lied, this deal moved forward. Believe me, if the world had this information in November 2015, this deal would have never gone forward the way that it has. And this deal was fatally flawed before. Israel said that 3 years ago. But now we have hard evidence to show that Iran not only has a problem, not only has a nuclear program for the past, but that they've actually kept this thing ready and waiting to be used in the future. And that is a great danger to the peace and security of the world. I think that your listeners also have to understand, Iran is developing intercontinental ballistic missiles. Now, this may not be news to your listeners because they know a lot about Israel. We're on the same continent as Iran. So the ballistic missiles that they're developing are not for Israel. They can already reach us. They're trying to get missiles to reach the United States. So if we do nothing, we're going to allow Iran to enrich as much uranium as it wants, to ultimately get ballistic missiles that can hit the United States. And now they're going to go into those vaults and use the information there to build nuclear warheads and put them on those missiles. How dangerous is that for the peace and security of the world? That's why President Trump was so correct in calling out this deal from the beginning. And we hope and I believe that he'll make the right decision in the days ahead.
Essentially, where is Iran right now? Do they have the capability in a short period of time to use this fissile material to make a nuclear bomb? Have they actually got that technology in hand?
Well, what we presented was only a sliver of the information that we have. All the information that we have, we passed on to U.S. intelligence agencies, and this was new information. A lot of people tried to say yesterday, this is just old stuff. It's not. It's very new stuff. It was new to our intelligence agencies. It's new to your intelligence agencies. Mike Pompeo, the new Secretary of State, who a week ago was the director of the CIA, said yesterday this was new information that allows the United States and others to put together the puzzle of Iran's military nuclear program. And what I can tell you is Iran's program was much more advanced than we had previously believed. The exact time that it would take them to develop a nuclear weapon, that's still an open question, but they are much more advanced. And again, the fatal flaw of this deal is that the restrictions that it puts in place are not permanent. You saw a lot of people yesterday who said, you know, this new information of Netanyahu, it validates the need for a nuclear deal. It vindicates those who support the nuclear deal because it shows us that we have to put restrictions on Iran's nuclear program. And I say that's a very good argument, except for one thing. All of those restrictions are removed in a few years. So what people who supported this deal should be saying today, at the very least, is that the restrictions of this deal should be permanent, should never be removed on a regime that had planned in the past to develop nuclear weapons and plans in the future to develop nuclear weapons. It's a very dangerous and bad deal. It has to be fully fixed or it should be fully nixed.
Well, when that deal was signed, the U.S. Released billions of dollars of Iranian funds. What have they done with that money?
Well, that's actually a very important point because a lot of people are only focused on the nuclear side and the nuclear restrictions, but people don't remember the price that the international community paid to Iran to agree to this bad deal, which is they freed them, as you just said, of all of these sanctions. And hundreds of billions of dollars over the next few years are pouring and will pour into Iranian coffers if this deal is not stopped. And I would love to tell you that they're using those funds to establish a GI Bill for returning members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. They're not. They're using it to fuel their war machine in the region. They're supporting Shia militias in Iraq, the same militias that killed hundreds of Americans. They're trying to develop a permanent military presence to attack Israel in Syria. They're supporting Hezbollah, their terrorist proxy in Lebanon. They're supporting the Houthis, another terrorist proxy in Yemen, that are firing rockets into Saudi Arabia. So the freeing of Iran from the sanctions has actually endangered the Middle East in ways that people can hardly imagine. And they're doing all of this before they have nuclear weapons. Imagine what will happen in a few years if nothing is changed, if they get nuclear weapons. What you've seen now in terms of Iranian aggression will grow tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold.
This is an existential threat to Israel. Is Israel ready to take some kind of preemptive military action, do you think?
Well, the Prime Minister Netanyahu, has been very clear that he will never allow Iran to develop nuclear weapons. This is a regime that openly calls for the annihilation of Israel, that actively works for the annihilation of Israel, that has declared its goal to destroy Israel. And they were tweeting, literally tweeting out that they will destroy Israel on the eve of the signing of this terrible deal. Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it clear that that's never going to happen. And I think we can say, Pat, after the last few years, that people should take Prime Minister Netanyahu's words very, very seriously.
Last question. There's good news for Israel. The president has said we're going to put our embassy in Jerusalem. Is there any chance that he might be there on May the 14th for that celebration?
Well, there's always a chance. We'd all, of course, love to have him. It's a historic decision. It's been the capital of the state of Israel for nearly 70 years. And it's been the capital of the Jewish people, the place where we direct our prayers for 3,000 years. So this decision was long overdue. There were 12 presidents before President Trump that did not make that decision. Thankfully, this president had the boldness and courage to make that decision. And I also think, Pat, that it helps advance peace. Because the reason why we don't have peace is that the Palestinians think and teach their children that the Jewish people stole the land of Israel from them. Now, you know how ridiculous that is. This is the land where the patriarchs of the Jewish people prayed. It's where our prophets preached, and it's where our kings ruled. When the Jewish people come back to Israel, they come home. But that is not the message that the Palestinians teach their children. What they teach them is that we stole their land, that we're foreign colonialists. And they deny any connection between the Jewish people and the land of Israel. They deny a connection between the Jewish people and Jerusalem, which has been the center of our national and religious life for 3,000 years. What President Trump did in recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital and declaring his intention to move the United States Embassy there is he punctured through all these Palestinian lies. And I think in doing so, he sets a cornerstone for a lasting peace, because the only peace that is going to last is a peace based on truth. Jerusalem is the capital, and Israel is the ultimate statement of truth.
Well, Ambassador, thank you for being with us. Israeli Ambassador Ron Dermer, we appreciate him and what you're doing, and God bless you.